Rudolph was changing. He was different now. He would wake up in the morning late. He wouldn't roll out of bed at 6 in the morning like he used to. He'd wake up late, 7:30, go downstairs into the kitchen where his breakfast was now cold. And he would see his wife Charlene still in her, there's the name I have for this story, true. His wife Charlene in her gown and her curlers in the hair, and she would just look at him. And he said, "What you looking at me for? I'm a grown man. I can do what I want to do. I can wake up when I want to wake up. What you looking at me for?" And she just shake her head and go, But he was changing. He was coming in later at night than he had before, staying out longer in the evening, coming in smelling of perfume and sometimes lipstick around the collar. He would crawl into the bed when she was already there, and when she was there sitting up reading a book, and she'd just look at him and he'd say, "What you looking at? I'm a grown man. I can go where I want to go. I can do what I want to do. You can't tell me nothing." And she'd look at him and go, He was changing in every way. But the one thing that Rudolph was not changing on was coming to Charlene's Sunday dinner. Charlene's Sunday dinner was so good, everybody was fighting to get to that. Preachers, when they were visiting town, always asked if they could go to Charlene's house afterwards. And the reality was that Charlene could burn. Now, if you don't know my vernacular, in the culture of my people, what we say when we say burn is we mean it was some good cooking. Oh, and she was good. She had the collard greens on the table, the sweet potatoes that would come with the little bitty mushrooms that they would have out there. She always had fried chicken that folks ate lots and lots and lots. She would clean that table up, and everybody who was family found their way to that table, and even Rudolph made it sure he was there. She would always have a little bit of pork chops for him. He liked pork chops, fried pork chops, none of that shake and bake stuff. No. And on that day, when she had gone into the freezer, she realized that she only had 3 pork chops there. She hadn't realized that she was that low, so she made the 3 pork chops, put them near to where he was, and when he got to the table, he looked down and he said, "What is this? 3 pork chops? What everybody else gonna eat?" And she just looked at him. The table got quiet. He said, "And while I'm at it, why you gotta go to church looking like you look? Wearing that thing, what they call it? They call it a moo-moo? Well, you certainly look like a moo-moo in that moo-moo." Everybody was quiet, looking down at their plates. And then Charlene said, "I got a story." Everybody stopped, put their forks and things down, turned their chairs, because there was one thing that was better than her food, and that was Charlene's stories. They couldn't wait to hear it. And so she began. There was a time when Brer Rabbit, now just few children don't know, Brer means brother. Brer means brother. What does Brer mean? What does sis mean? Y'all are so good. You've been there. And so there was Brer Rabbit, and there was Brer Wolf, and there was Brer Wolf and Brer Fox, Brer Bear, Brer Possum, and Brer Buzzard. And each one of them had their own gardens. But one year they decided that they would plant a garden together and see if they could do that. And they began the work. But as they began the work, all of the Brers had a sis except for Brer Buzzard. Now, Brer Buzzard had a long head of feathers that went up on the top of his head. And because he had that long head of feathers on the top of his head, he thought and he felt like he was the king. So he made it his job to supervise everybody else's work in the garden. That was his job. And he felt like the person he needed to supervise the most was the one that had the least power, and that was Brer Rabbit. He was always, Brer Rabbit do this, Brer Rabbit do that, Brer Rabbit do this, Brer Rabbit do that. Brer Rabbit got so tired he wanted to change his name to something else. But after a while, the men worked together, and there's an amazing thing that happens when men work together. They can produce a great crop. And so the crop grew, and it was so beautiful. And as they were harvesting, they knew that they were going to split this up. But before they did, they decided they would have a great banquet. They would gather some of the food, get some other foods, and they would come together and eat all together, invite the sisters, and it was going to be a good time. And so they all gathered and brought food to that table, and everybody sat down with their sis, except, of course, Brer Buzzard. And since he didn't have a sis, he sat at the head of the table with his long head of feathers up on his head and feeling like the king, and he was mighty happy. They were just getting ready to have a little prayer, and right when they getting ready to have a little prayer, before they did, Brer Buzzard put part of his wing into his cup of water, and he pulled it out and said, Brer Rabbit, my cup of water is warm. Go get me some cold water. I don't think you need any cold water. I think it's just fine. You're just fine. I'm not listening to you. Brer Fox, check your water. See if it's warm. Brer Fox checked his water. My water's just fine. You don't know what you're talking about. Bear, check your water. Well, I just see. You don't know what you're talking about. Brer Wolf, check your water. Brer Wolf just said it must be warm. And they all looked, and Brer Rabbit looked around the table. Nobody was defending him. Go on and get me some cold water, Brer Rabbit. Oh, Brer Rabbit got out of that chair. Get you some cold water. I'm going to get you some cold water. You're going to get some cold water. You're going to get cold water, right? You're going to get me some cold water. I'm going to get you some. I'm going to get you some cold water. And I'm going to get cold water. Come on. You go get some cold water. You don't need I'm going to get you some cold water. He got down there. He rolled that bucket down into the well and then rolled it back up. It was filled. He took that bucket off and he started, well, I'm going to get you cold water. But unfortunately for him, Brer Rabbit had just recently got religion. So he started repenting on the way there. Get you cold water. When he got back to the table, he took Brer Buzzard's cup, dipped it in the water, handed it back to him. Brer Buzzard drank it all the way down and said, now that's some cold water. He didn't say thank you or nothing else. And when Brer Rabbit stopped to look and put that bucket down and looked, and they had eaten most of the food already on the table. He was angry. Brer Buzzard, I forgot something at home. I made something and forgot it at home. Now, Sis Rabbit looked at him and didn't have any idea what she was saying, but she didn't say nothing. She was a good wife. Something was going on. I'm going to be right back. Brer Rabbit dropped that bucket there and hopped his way on home. He got inside and he cooked up, put it in a nice pot, put a top on it and carried that pot. There was a little hole in that pot top and it was steam coming out. It's so hot. And he hopped back up and the food was all gone by that time. But he went and he set that pot in front of Brer Buzzard. What's this? Brer Buzzard took his wing and lifted up that pot. Ooh, grits. Now, I got to help you here because some of y'all don't understand grits. I'm not talking about any instant-made kind of grits. I'm not talking about any Northern or California type of grits. I'm talking about thick grits that stick to the bones inside of you, that are filled with the cheese, and they got some pork in there, some bacon and such like. You know what I'm talking about? Some of y'all folk know, some of y'all don't. Some of y'all ain't even looking at me. Some of y'all, I'm worried about you. You need to go get some real grits. All right, you need to go find a black church and go there one morning and get some real grits. I'm not being offensive. It's just the truth. All right, or go down south in Kentucky. Over in Kentucky, the white folk in Kentucky can make some grits. Now I'm telling you right now. You gotta get. He had the grits, and he looked at them going, oh, he couldn't wait. Brer Buzzard loved grits, and he was just about to take a spoon and dip in there, and Brer said, "Oh, wait, we got to say the prayer." Well, we already said the prayer, Brer Rabbit, but I wasn't here. You know I got religion. I got to say the prayer. All right, then. Brer Rabbit spoke. Everybody bow your heads, fold your hands, close your eyes. And they all did. And Brer Rabbit began to pray. Lord, have mercy. And he took one hand out of the prayer position and planted it behind Brer Buzzard's head. have mercy on those who get what they deserve. Everyone at the table laughed and went back to eating, except one little one. Aunt Charlene, what happened to Brad Buzzer? Oh, baby, you don't know? And Charlene looked straight at Rudolph. You don't know, baby, that when hot grits is poured on somebody's body, it'll take the skin right off of them. And Brad Buzzard's head lost all of them feathers, and he is bald as a baby's behind. And she went, And Rudolph stopped changing.